If you've been here for a minute, you know that I was not really an N64 gamer. I didn't collect for it. I didn't own one until a few years ago when my wife and my friend Chris bought me the Jungle Green N64, which was my dream N64 for my birthday. And that's pretty much when my exposure to the console started. What's going on, everybody? I'm Jay. Welcome to Square Pegs. And one of the coolest things about being in your 40s and discovering a retro game console is that games are new, fresh, and fun to you. And today, I'm talking about 10 games that I'm still playing on the N64 that really captured my imagination here in 2026. We're going to kick things off with one of the greatest games ever from Rare. Conker's Bad Fur Day had a very, very, very interesting life cycle. So this started off as a game called 12 Tales Conker 64, I think is what it was. And it was originally a family-friendly platformer, kind of like Banjo-Kazooie, another Rare, fantastic game. And they got some pretty bad feedback on that at E3, and we're told that it's too similar to Banjo. It's a little too kid-friendly. So rather than just kind of course correct a little bit to the middle, Rare swung far in the opposite direction, and we got the ridiculously foul-mouthed and inappropriate and vulgar Conker's Bad Fur Day, which I personally love. The game is magnificent, has some of the best voice acting from the N64 generation on it, like just fantastic British humor everywhere. It's absolutely wonderful. The gameplay is solid. It's a little bit more simple than things like Banjo-Kazooie or Donkey Kong 64 were. It's just essentially a standard 3D platformer. It's just the setting that really kind of sets it apart. And it's a perfected version of that setting because while it is simplified in terms of gameplay, the level design is still complex, and the different game modes that you have where you're actually like dropping into first-person shooter modes and things like that really kind of add some interesting complexity to the title, but it works because everything is done so lovingly well. It's crafted perfectly. Absolutely spectacular game, and just really love that it even exists because it doesn't feel like it should, but I'm glad I live in the universe where it does.
That way smells a bit pooey. Let me see.
Releasing in 1999, Mario Golf is a game that I never played until it launched on the Switch Online service. It was just something that, in my spectrum of playing N64 games, I missed out on this one, missed out on Mario Tennis. Basically, a lot of the Mario sports games and Mario Party were not things that I regularly played back when I was over at a friend's house on the N64, and I haven't picked them up for my own console, so having them virtually on the Switch Online service is great. This is a fantastic golf game. It's simplified, it's not overly complex, it's not like you're hopping into a PGA Tour game or anything like that, although there's some deceptive mechanics involved here where you're getting the more kind of like unique experiences of a real golf game, some real in giant air quotes there, of things like wind strength and slopes and things like that. So you actually have to take into account some certain aspects of what you would experience in a golf sim. It's just presented in kind of a silly and goofy way. This also has transfer capabilities with the Game Boy Color version of Mario Golf, which is my personal favorite Mario Golf game ever made. So you can actually bring your character over from the Game Boy Color version and drop them into the game here, which I think is pretty awesome. It's a great title, really fantastic game, and just something that, to me, is just a remarkable experience. Like, Mario sports games shouldn't work on their surface, right? Like, it's kind of a silly concept, but they're always fun. They're always great. And I think Mario Golf on the 64 is the best one from that generation.
Nice birdie!
Man, I love the F-Zero franchise, and I think I own one game from it. I think I own only one of the Game Boy Advance games. This is F-Zero X, and clearly this is the Switch Online version of it, where I had never played it before I played it on Switch Online. It's amazing. What a spectacular game. It's not as great as something like F-Zero GX, but it's an incredible title. The sense of speed on this game is unmatched. It's unbelievably fast. You are able to go to these incredibly creative courses that are a little bit different than anything we've experienced before with the F-Zero universe, now rendered fully in 3 dimensions, where you are going to have to really be conscious of where your hover car is on the course at any given time, because if you go off, you're done. There are certain levels that are incredibly ambitious and offer some really fun kind of interactive experiences where, as you're driving, all of a sudden the the universe or the world around you is going to start to shrink down, and that sense of speed increases even more. There's brilliant design decisions across the board on this game. Spectacular title, and this is just one of those franchises to me that I hate that Nintendo forgets about it or doesn't seem to care about it. It doesn't make sense to me, because this could be an absolutely massive cash cow for them, and they just continually ignore it. I think the only new F-Zero game we've gotten recently was F-Zero 99. Like, we need new F-Zero. Use this and use F-Zero GX as the blueprint. Bring us more games. While I think No Mercy gets the appropriate attention it deserves because the game's incredible, WrestleMania 2000 is right up there. And in fact, any of the N64 wrestling games that were developed by the Aki Corporation, whether they were from WWF, WCW, or All Japan Pro Wrestling, every single one of them were excellent. These are the gold standards of quality wrestling titles. Even ones that are as bare bones as something like the early WCW games are still fun because they played so unbelievably well. The controls were solid, the gameplay was logical and understood, and it was really fun to be able to kind of hype the crowd up to the point where you're able to trigger your special move, and kind of learning the different nuances of each character, of where the special moves needed to be performed. Strong grapples versus weak grapples, strong strikes versus weak strikes, directional grappling. It was all stuff that are things we still feel in modern wrestling games with things like the WWE 2K series from 2K Games. That all started here. It's been bastardized a little bit as we've gone along, so the N64 versions of these games, I think, are still the gold standard, and are still what those games that are coming out today are chasing, because these were signature experiences that are just absolutely perfect. I love Pokemon Puzzle League for a lot of reasons. One, I love panel-to-pawn types of games. I think they are some of the best puzzle games out there. Like, it's just a simple thing to understand. You move the blocks, you match the blocks that are the same color, and you'll toss blocks over onto your opponent's side that he has to eliminate things to get rid of, otherwise he's going to lose quickly. I just think it's a fantastic gameplay experience. It's simple to understand, it's easy to engage with, and everyone can kind of get into it. It's not so complex that you're going to be confused. The other thing I really like about Pokemon Puzzle League is that it was really ambitious. It had a lot of video and voice samples in it, where in a lot of N64 games, those looked terrible and sounded like they were in a tin can. And you still get that to a degree with Pokemon Puzzle League, but it looks and sounds so much better than many other games on the console, and I think that's something that it really should be recognized for. Not only do you get a great puzzle game, but you get some technological advancements with this game as well that I wouldn't have expected from a panel-to-pawn Pokemon tie-in. Really quality title.
Wait! Don't forget to come and see me in my office in Puzzle League Village!
Yeah!
Did you hear me, Ash?
Today's video is sponsored by Meets Expectations. Whenever I get a sponsorship opportunity, there's one particular check that the request has to pass in order for me to engage further. Is the product or service something I believe in? And with Meets Expectations, I can tell you without hesitation that it absolutely is. Meets Expectations makes snacking memorable with exceptional ingredients from a founder in Paul who has worked in the meat industry for over 30 years. Paul and the team from Meets Expectations reached out to me in June, and we've been in discussions ever since, making sure that their jerky is ready for my audience in hopes that you guys will give them a shot. Paul has iterated on his recipes and production methods to make his small batch jerky as delicious as possible. I've received several samples and chances to try both their signature beef jerky, which is smoky and robust and has that classic beef jerky flavor and tenderness, as well as my personal favorite, the Blaze and Glazed pork jerky, which lures you into the sweetness of honey before hitting you in the face with some heat to make things more interesting. Both are incredible, and honestly, I'm just stoked that a person who cares about his product as much as Paul and his team do are able to bring a delicious product like the Meets Expectations lines to market. Check out the link in the description or head over to meetsexpectations.com/s/squarepegs and use affiliate code SQUAREPEGS, all one word, lowercase, on checkout. Meets Expectations. Legendary flavor damage with superior hit detection from first bite to the last. Get your snack on.
Mega Man? Mega Man? Mega Man? Can you
I know this game isn't for everybody, but I adore Mega Man 64. I love the Mega Man Legends universe. I think it's really just a charming kind of time capsule of the late 90s of video game development. It's a really interesting game. So it's not like a traditional Mega Man that was, you know, a 2D side-scroller. This is a full 3D game where you need to explore using Mega Man. It's a really interesting concept, and while it started off on the PlayStation 1 and originally released in 1997, the N64 version, I think, is just as good. And in fact, I think it's pretty much identical to the PlayStation version, which is something that a lot of people had problems with. They wanted improvements, but I don't know. I really like it. I think it's fun. It's an adventure game. It's a little bit closer to something like Tomb Raider than it is to something like Super Mario Bros. 64 or anything like that. It's just a really interesting title. I like the exploration aspects of it. I like the interaction in Mega Man's world as opposed to just kind of running and shooting. I think it adds some depth to the character and depth to the universe. I think it's really great, and it's a fun game. While this isn't some kind of like 64-bit powerhouse or anything like that, Robotron 64 is a ridiculously fun game. This is the modern version of Robotron 2084 from the arcades back in the early 80s. I think this game is fantastic. It plays just like Robotron does. You have your controller, you have one stick to move, and you can use the C buttons to shoot in any direction, or you can plug in a second controller and use that as the second stick for your shooting, which I think is kind of genius. What a great way to really bring in twin-stick shooting into the game. I think it's amazing. If you've never played Robotron, it's very simple. You are controlling a character, you go around, you're shooting the bad guys, and you're collecting the citizens to gain points to keep them from being killed. It's not complex by any stretch of the imagination. It's very basic, very simple to understand, but it's an incredibly addictive arcade experience and unbelievably fun. The N64 version is really solid. It's maybe not as streamlined as the arcade originals or even the Atari ports from the early 80s, but I still think it's a fun game, and I love that it even exists because it just kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't expect there to be a Robotron game on the N64, and I ended up finding it at a convention, and I love it. It's a wonderful game. This might be my favorite racing game on the N64. Can I get some love in the chat for Ben Quadraneros? Welcome to Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. I adore this game. For something that I thought was going to be absolutely terrible and just a cash grab of a game, what I got instead was one of the most competent and well-constructed racing games of the 64 generation. I absolutely adore this one. What a fun concept. Taking the scene from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, and turning it into a legitimate racing title by making pod racing something that was actually a game and something you could interact with was genius. Fantastic title, and something that explores the Star Wars universe in a way that we hadn't really seen before. Now, we've had some other kind of like off-the-wall weird Star Wars games like Bombad Racers and things like that, but I think the first really true quality one was this one here with Episode 1 Racer. Every version of this game I've played is fun, whether you're talking any of the modern ports of taking the classic code and putting it into modern releases, the Dreamcast version, or where I originally played it here on the N64. All of them are fantastic, all of them are wonderful, and give you such a remarkable sense of speed and such a great experience of being in the Star Wars universe with music and settings and characters that you're familiar with. It's just a wonderful, wonderful game. In the pantheon of on-rails shooters, Sin and Punishment is up there with things like Time Crisis, with things like The House of the Dead, as far as like extreme quality goes. This game is magnificent. And of course it is. It's from Treasure. Treasure does nothing but make great games. I really appreciate this title, and I really love this game, especially the Virtual Console release, or not the Virtual Console, the Switch Online release, where you're able to use the Switch 2 Pro Controller, because this game is so incredibly well made when you have something with two analog sticks, because being able to move around with the D-pad and then use the right analog stick to aim your reticle is really nice. And then the gameplay itself is just solid. Like, the game is really fun, and for something that is at its core an arcade experience, it's also an incredibly forgiving arcade experience. Like, your life bar is easy to maintain. It's also easy to refill. There's lots of power-ups that are going to increase your life and keep you on the playing field. And the gameplay itself is just really solid. It's one of the best-looking N64 games ever made. There's a ton of action going on at all times. The enemy designs are really great. The combat is fun. It's a truly wonderful game. There are English dubs and English remasters of this game out there. If you're looking for a repro cart, you can get one of those. But if you're not and you just want to play it, check it out on the Switch Online service. It's excellent. There's a couple of games released for Zelda on the N64. You had the Ocarina of Time game, which so many people love and think is fantastic. Then you have my personal favorite, which is The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask. I think this game might be one of the best video games of all time. And I know that that's not a unique opinion. A lot of people feel that as well. But for me, this is such a remarkable game with such an just incredibly compelling storytelling style by using time travel and shape transformation and things like that. It tells a story that was ambitious and frightening and entertaining and just amazing. Like, the entire universe in the Ocarina of Time timeline is amazing, and I think it's really the North Star of where the Zelda universe has gone since, was based on what happened in Ocarina. I personally love Majora just because it's a little bit more mature. It feels a little bit more grown up than Ocarina did, and that's not to say like it's some kind of grim and gritty dark game. It's not like Twilight Princess or anything like that. It's just there's different elements in play here that, to me, from a storytelling perspective, are more intriguing and more engaging. This might be my favorite N64 game. I think it's beautiful. I think it's absolutely a masterclass in storytelling, and as far as I'm concerned, it's top 5 Zelda. That was a loud clap. 10 N64 games I am still playing here in 2026. As someone who's basically new to the N64, I still get kind of giddy playing this console. There's a lot of jank on it, don't get me wrong, but there's some amazing stuff on it as well that is just incredibly fun and super well designed. Like, even with the hardware limitations of the console, developers were putting out some incredibly creative games that really took advantage of everything that it could offer and made for some memorable gaming experiences. Let me know in the comments down below, what are your favorite N64 games that you're still playing in 2026? Check out the link on screen right now if you want to see a video I did about this last year when I was still even newer in my N64 journey. And hey, if you enjoyed today's video, give it a big thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you're new here. I'm Jay. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate you watching. Remember, play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.